Okay, we're recording. Awesome. Okay, so anyway, back to the palette. So if you want to go ahead and get your paint cups out, you might want to use a plastic spoon or knife, or you can also just kind of tip them and kind of tap them on the side of your palette and dump out some of that paint. You probably don't need to dump out all of the paint that I've given you. I would dump out, maybe 50 to 70% of what I gave you and save the rest in case you need it. That way you have extra in case you need to mix a color again or something like that. It's always good to have backup. And, if you decide you need to take a break tonight and you want to go back and paint tomorrow, then you have extra paint for you to work those issues out. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna give you guys a moment to kind of get your palettes all set up. I'm gonna get myself situated here. We've got people that are still joining in, which is great. Okay, awesome. All right, so I'm just gonna tell you a few things. Those of you who have painted with me before, you already know all of this, so feel free to just tune me out for a while because it's gonna be very repetitive. But the paint that we're using tonight is acrylic paint. And I know the tendency, if you've painted before, is to take your paintbrush and dunk it in your water and then start mixing it in your paint. I'm going to advise you tonight not to do that. Those of you at home who have one of our ultimate paint kits, I know on the bottle it says that this paint can be mixed with water, and it absolutely can. But for the sake of the class tonight, we're not going to mix it with water. It's going to make it even more transparent than it already is, and it's going to take a lot longer to dry because you're mixing water in with it, okay? So please try not to mix water with it. We want really thick color, we want bold color, and we want our layers to dry really quickly because we have about 2 hours to get this painting done, which is totally doable. But part of that, we don't want to waste time waiting for our layers to dry, okay? So if you don't mix water, it's gonna be a lot better for everybody, okay? Also, in between using your paintbrushes, please just stick your brushes in the water. So after you use a brush, and we're not gonna use it for a while, let it just live in its water cup. That way, the paint won't dry on the bristles. Even if you think you've washed it out really good in your cup, sometimes that paint just dries up, and just for the sake of the brush, we'll let our brushes live a little bit longer. Just go ahead and just stick it in that water cup so it doesn't get all crusty and gross on you or on me, okay? I appreciate that. Yes.
Again, what was next?
Say that again.
Can you show the colors? What was next?
Yes, show you colors. Kayla, you're kind of breaking up a little bit, but I think you asked about palette colors. Is that what you asked? Okay, so we have the green, yellow, blue. I put the green in the middle of my blue and yellow because we're going to be mixing those a lot together. And then I have my red, my black, and my white, okay? Okay, so here, I'll show you one more time. There you go. Okay. All right, so everybody should have 3 brushes tonight. These are called brights. We don't have any rounds in our brush mix up tonight. These are all brights. They're the straight across rectangular looking brushes. You should have a 10, a 6, and a 2. So those of you who paint with me all the time, you'll see this is something we haven't done in a while. So I'm excited to teach you a couple of techniques to use those brushes. So that'll be something fun. When the class is over, a lot of you know this, but please return your brushes to me as soon as you can. Tonight, just wash them out in soap and water and leave them on your paper towel to dry. And then if you would just swing back by the shop as soon as you can, that way I can wash all the brushes and sanitize them, and then I can redistribute them again because I start making kits on Friday. And because there's 46 of you, a lot of my brushes are out right now. So I'm gonna need those brushes back for our next painting as well. So that would be great. Let's see, I think that's pretty much all that I have to say for now. I do talk pretty much the whole time through this painting. I have a lot to say. I have a lot that I want to teach you. So if at any time you have questions, I will unmute you all, and then you can have the opportunity to unmute yourself as well and ask me questions. If I don't see you, you're gonna need to do something to grab my attention, like do a little dance, shake your arms, wave your painting, make a funny face. I mean, any of those things generally get my attention. But like I kind of said at the beginning, if I don't see you for some reason and you're muted, send me a message on Messenger, and I will see that for sure. And you can ask me questions that way. Okay. All right. So I'm going to check across the board. Those of you who have shown your pretty faces, I would just want to make sure you guys have your palette set up and you're good to go. Hey, Marcy. I'm happy you guys are here. Hi. Cool. Very cool. Oh man, this is awesome. What a fun group tonight, you guys. This is going to be really fun. I can't wait to see the final product of this. Okay. Okay. So, oh yes, Misty. Let me unmute you. Hang on.
Janine said she's waiting for you to accept her.
Okay. I don't see her. I don't see her up here yet. Maybe have her get out and try again. I don't see anybody in the waiting room right now. I'm gonna keep watching though. I'm watching. Sometimes I forget to look over there. There she is. I see her. Okay, she's in. Hey, Janine. Okay, guys, cool. Well, if everybody's ready, it's 7:15. It is the perfect time to start our class, okay? So like I said, if anybody has questions, grab my attention, do whatever you need to do. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep on talking, okay? All right, so I'm gonna show you the painting. I do recommend if you have a phone near you or another computer, iPad or whatever, go ahead and pull this painting up. You can go to the Humble Life's Facebook page and you can scroll down a few posts ago and you can pull this up. It's good to have this image near you for reference because I don't always have it up. I show you this step and then I show you my painting a lot of the time, and my screen and area here isn't very large, so I can't show it to you constantly, okay? So I want you to be able to have that for reference. That will help you out a lot. Those of you who have joined a little bit later, just real quick again, once you're set up, you have your canvas, you have your water, you have your brushes, your paper towel, and then you have your palette right next to you over here. So you can do all your work in right here, and you're all set up and you're ready to go, okay? All right, you guys, I'm gonna move over this way a little bit. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna do tonight is we're gonna work our background. Now, our background is sectioned off in two different areas. We have like kind of a tabletop down here, and then we have like our background color, okay? So what we're gonna do first is we are gonna start with our size 10 brush. I know that feels kind of small for some of you who are used to painting with me for a background, but we're gonna start with that size brush. So get your 10, and what we're gonna do for color is we're actually going to start with the largest background section, okay? And it's kind of an off-white kind of color, okay? And so how we do that is what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to grab just a little bit. I call this red-brown, so you'll hear me saying red-brown a lot tonight. Hang on, I got to get somebody else in here. So we're going to grab just a little bit of this red-brown. We're going to bring it over to my white right here, and I'm just going to pull out a little bit of white, and I'm just going to kind of start mixing. Okay, you only need a very, very little bit of that red-brown, right? You only want just an off color, an off white, right? Okay, so I'm gonna leave my palette kind of marbled, and what that means is it's not totally mixed, okay? I don't know if you can see in the lighting here, you can kind of see my off-white. So I have a little bit of that red-brown mixed in with my white, and it's not fully mixed, which means I don't have one solid color here. I can see lots of lighter areas and lots of darker areas, and that's totally cool. It's also totally cool if your paintbrush is just covered in paint, okay? Gobs of paint, totally fine. Sometimes that's not okay. Right now, that's totally fine, okay? All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start just painting our background. So I would go up, I would say maybe about 2.5 inches or so, roughly, not a science, and just give yourself a line. I don't know if you can see that because we're working with off-whites right now. okay? But I've just got a very rough line there. Everything from this line up is gonna be painted in this color, and that's including your sides, your top, your edges, okay? Every part of your canvas. So just go ahead, start smearing the paint. I just go back and forth. You can go up and down if you wanna go up and down. It doesn't matter. The goal right now is just to get it covered, okay? And you'll notice when you start painting this, if the color is too dark or if you think it's too light, okay? So then just adjust, add a little bit more pigment if you want to, whatever you feel like you need to do, okay? Now your background is just that, it is a background, okay? So you don't need to spend a super long time on this, okay? It's an afterthought, it's gonna be pushed back in the background. So your goal right now is just to smear that paint on, okay? Get it on there, get it really pushed into the tooth or the texture of the canvas in any direction you want, okay? You can even go in swirls if you want to. If you've had one of those days and you're just trying to get some aggression out, just paint as much as you want or however you want to, okay? Your goal, like I said, is just to cover this area. If you have texture in your background, that's totally fine. That'll add to the painting, okay? You want to try to avoid having any areas that are really gobby. Okay, so if you do, just take your brush and smear right on top of that and just smooth it out, okay? Okay, getting all those areas. Don't worry too much about that line that you drew. That line, if you feel like you went down too far or it's just not in the right spot, just go ahead and finish this part of the painting, and then when we actually draw out our table in just a minute, we can adjust that line. Okay, that's not a big deal. Okay, so I've got this whole front part painted. I'm gonna work on my sides now. If you notice tonight that I teach a certain skill or a certain area of the painting quickly, there's a reason for that. Sometimes when we're painting, our brain likes to get in the way and tell us what to do. And we overanalyze and we have a hard time just kind of jumping in and making a mark. And so what happens is I teach something kind of quick if I want you just to take action and not think about it, okay? So like when we start working on our plants, there might be a section or two where I just go right on through it, and I want you just to go right on through it with me. I want you to trust your hand. I want you to take a chance and just kind of go for it. I think you will be pleasantly surprised at what your hands can do with the paint when your brain doesn't get too analytical, okay? So I know I have a lot of different kinds of brains working with me tonight. I have some people who like to think a lot, and I have some people who don't think in that way. And so whoever you are, I'm gonna challenge you tonight to let your hand do all of the work, okay? Okay, so when I'm done here, I'm just gonna hold on to my brush. I'm not gonna wash it yet, okay? I'm gonna give you guys a minute to kind of get that part of your painting all finished. It should dry pretty quickly, okay? As long as you have a nice, thin kind of coat, you should be okay. All right, I'm gonna give you guys just another minute to kind of get that part done. And I'm going to tell you how to mix the next color here in just a second, okay? I'm gonna go across the board here real quick, across the top, and make sure everybody's okay. If you're not okay, you know, do something. If you're okay, just keep on painting. The lighting here at the shop is so much better than it was last week. I don't know, a lot of you were here with me last week during that crazy storm, and man, that was something. The power went out for a lot of people, and I ended up having to teach at my house, and our lights there, I didn't realize how yellow they are. But here I'm at the shop and we have these fluorescent lights, which are terrible for art, but I have all this natural light here too, all these windows. And so I'm so grateful that I can be here again and you can actually see what I'm painting. Last week was something else. Okay guys, so I'm gonna I'm gonna go on to the next step, okay? Looks like everybody's doing all right. All right, so our tabletop, okay? So our tabletop, if you take a look at it, we've got a basically like kind of a greeny kind of gray down here with lots and lots of variation. Okay, there's not a lot of rhyme or reason to this part except for our shadow. And we're gonna put in our shadow later. That's gonna be an afterthought, okay? So disregard the shadow right now. We're just gonna do the bottom. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'll show you my palette. I have not washed my brush yet. I have no water on my brush at all. I'm just gonna kind of take a little bit of black, just a little bit here. And I'm gonna come right on over to this area where I have cleaner white. I'm gonna just kind of start mixing that in. I'm leaving it very marbled, okay? And I'm actually gonna grab a little bit of green and I'm gonna pull it in there, just a little bit. You still want gray, but you just want it with a tiny bit of a green hint, okay? Just a little bit, and we'll add more here in a second, okay? So I'm gonna grab that. I have a very, very marbled gob of paint. Okay, so now I'm gonna come down where my line was, and I'm gonna just fill this in with that gray. Now, if you can see, as I'm painting, you can see it's very streaky, right? I have some greens coming out. I have some darker grays coming out. I know I have a shadow right here, so it's kind of hard to see that exact area. But my point is that your marbled paint, when it's on your brush and you start smearing it, it should come out kind of streaky, okay? So try to avoid over blending. Let it just be streaky, okay? And I want you to go from one side to the other side, okay? This is not an up and down. This is a back and forth right now because we are trying to mimic or give the feeling of a tabletop, right? And so the tabletop with our lighting and everything, it goes back and forth, okay? So back and forth is our goal here.
Hey, April, so you put a little bit of black and green?
Yes, in my white.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. And just enough green to just give it a hint, just a touch, okay? Just makes the gray a little bit more interesting instead of just gray, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna paint my edges as well. This is just good craftsmanship. Anytime you're working on a painting, just go ahead and paint your edges. It just gives it a nice, polished, finished look. And then you don't have to frame it if you don't want to. Okay, it's just kind of nice and done. It just looks a lot better. You can just go hang it up on the wall. Okay, I'm doing my edges now, doing this bottom edge. Okay, so tonight when we're mixing colors, you want to make sure you're mixing enough color. Like I didn't mix a ton of gray right there, and that just reminded me. Tonight when we're mixing our greens, and mostly just our greens because that's all we're really using, just mix a lot of it. Okay, we can change the color as we go, but that way, if we run out, you don't have to remix that color. Okay. Okay, so my tabletop is just looking like this, just kind of gray. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add some more streakiness to it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab a little bit of black again on my brush and I'm gonna bring it right back over here to my gray area. And you see how that's just very splotchy, just very whatever. I'm gonna come down here and I'm just gonna streak it across. Now I'm being very light-handed when I do this. Oops, sorry, you can't see me. I'm being very light-handed when I do this, okay? You're gonna hear me talk a lot about being light-handed and heavy-handed tonight. If you are normally a heavy-handed person, like you press really hard when you write, I'm gonna challenge you sometimes to be very light-handed and think very light, airy, feathery thoughts. And that's gonna mean just dragging your paintbrush lightly across the surface. So right now is one of those times. Just lightly drag your paintbrush across the surface, okay? So you get that very kind of streaky kind of look. Okay, see how streaky I am down here? If you want, and you're kind of waiting for the next step, you can even just grab just a little bit of green. I have a tiny little bit of green on my paintbrush right now, and I'm just gonna smear it kind of right in up here, just because I know I'm not gonna have a shadow over here. I'm just gonna, you know, maybe the the planter is reflecting onto a kind of a glossy table. I don't know, and you're seeing a little bit of green there, okay? It's a little bit advanced, okay? So I don't want you to think too hard about this part. Remember, background, afterthought, right? Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys about another 30 seconds or so, and then we're gonna jump into our next step, which is gonna be our pot, our planter, okay? By this time, your background should be dry, okay? This background part right here. You can lightly run your hand over this part just to make sure that it is. I'm sure that it is though at this point. One thing you can do while you're waiting for this next step is you can measure. You can take the end of your paintbrush and you can measure by putting your thumb right here at the bottom of your canvas and the tip top of your paintbrush at the top of your gray table, and then bring it over to this other side and see that they are in fact the same height. So you do have a straight line. So mine is just a little bit off. Okay, so I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back over here. Mine's off just by a hair. So that shows me that my tabletop is not in fact even. So I'm gonna go ahead and even that out real quick. Okay, so take the time to do that. You want a nice even tabletop. Okay. Okay. Man, there's so many of you guys. It's so cool scrolling through and seeing all of you. Super fun. All right, you guys. Okay, so I'm going to show you what's up next on our painting. Next, we're going to do this big, beautiful planter right here, okay? Now, this is really fun. This is a lot of just laying down color and not over blending. So I know some of you are blenders and you like to just kind of keep going with it and keep going and make it nice and smooth, okay? And you're welcome to do that, of course. But if you want this look of this painting, you're gonna have to just lay down the color and just let it be, okay? So I'll teach you guys that here in just a second. I have not washed my brush yet. I'm still using it like this. And you're gonna learn that about me as you paint with me more. I hardly wash my brush. I think that the more color and whatever you can get on your brush, the more interesting your colors are gonna be when you paint with them. And I'm all about interesting colors. I think it makes paintings a little bit more intriguing and fun to look at when you can't quite figure them out, okay? So here we go. I'm going to take my brush. I'll show you my palette. And I do have some gobs on here. You can see some gray and you can see some white. So I'm just gonna take my paper towel here and I'm just gonna take my brush and I'm just gonna wipe it like that, okay? And maybe even pull it. So I have it sandwiched. I'm just gonna kind of pull those bristles. So I'm left with something that it just looks like this. Okay, so there's definitely still paint on there, but there's not gobs of paint. So it won't matter too much when I mix, okay? All right, so this next part, we're gonna mix the color of our planter. Now this is preference, okay? I'm gonna mix what I have in my painting, my original painting. So if you like that color, awesome. If you don't, if you want it to be more blue, add more blue. If you want it to be more on the greener side, add more green, okay? If you want this nice middle grade turquoise, cool, then just do exactly what I'm gonna do, okay? Now I'm gonna grab some white. I'm coming over here and I'm just picking up some white and I'm gonna bring it right in between my green and my blue. So I have green, blue, and white. I'm gonna pull in some green, I'm gonna pull in some blue, and I'm gonna mix them all together, okay? And as you start mixing, you're gonna be able to see that's on the bluer side. So I'm gonna pull in some more green here, okay? Once again, you can leave this kind of marbled. Okay, I can see blue, I can see green, I can see a little bit of white, okay, but I've got a good chunk of color there, right? Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of wipe just a little bit of that off on my palette. I don't want a lot of gobs right now, just a little bit, okay? All right. All right, so we're gonna start working, drawing out our planter.
Well, what should I mix with red and white to make like a peachy pink color? Yellow?
You should mix yellow. Throw in some yellow.
Okay.
Okay, you're gonna wanna use just a little bit of red. The red is super, super powerful. So a dot of red to start into your yellow and into your white. White is gonna be key as well. It's really gonna bring out the pretty hue, okay? And then you can always add more red to get that the intensity that you need. But start with just a very little bit at first, okay? Because it's really hard to turn back once you keep going. Okay. Okay. Okay, anybody else have any questions? We all okay? All right. Cool. Okay, guys, so here we go. So I'm gonna start, this is gonna be a little bit of a game of push and pull, okay? I want you to remember that trick I taught you about the end of your paintbrush, how we measured down here, right? To make sure that our tabletop was the same size. You can do the same trick on either side of your painting to measure that your planter is in the middle as well. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that here in a second. So I'm gonna come across the bottom here. I'm gonna go maybe about an inch or so up, okay? Inch or so up. And I'm just gonna give myself a slightly curved line. It's like a slight happy face, right? Like I'm kind of happy. I'm content, right? That kind of face, okay? And I'm gonna come up on both sides. Now I'm gonna be a little bit more narrow, okay? I can always go wider, but before I go wider, I wanna measure. I can already tell this is a little lopsided, and that's okay. The point is just to jump in and make lines to start with. So I'm gonna take my brush and I'm gonna measure either side, okay? And I can see that this side needs to come out just a little bit more. So I'm gonna adjust, okay? That's how I adjusted. All right, now you definitely want these to be like parentheses. These are nice and rounded on either side, okay? Like parentheses. Man, that sun is hitting in here. Y'all tell me, it looks like my lighting is okay, but y'all tell me if I get too glary, okay? Okay, so once I have this, I'm gonna join, you can also like measure, you know, to make sure that both of your parentheses are actually the same height, or you can just kind of wing it. I'm gonna kind of wing it right now. I'm gonna come down. You wanna come down and you wanna make an even more exaggerated happy face, not just a I'm okay face, but an actual happy face here. Okay, and I can tell that's off. So you just have to make that first line. That's really the goal. Just make that first line and then take a look at it and then you can adjust. Okay, you're never, I shouldn't say never, you know, you don't always make the right mark the first time you make a mark, okay? Okay, so I'm adjusting that real quick. Okay, so that's my shape, right? So now that I have that shape, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna fill it in. Now, I want you to pay attention to how you fill this in, okay? It's very important. We're gonna pay attention to the contour, okay? And what that means is just basically if you were to draw this vessel in a grid, you would see that the shape of it, we continue with our happy faces, okay? And like outwards, right? We're showing that we have space, we have dimension. But I want you to take your paintbrush and I want you to continue with this happy face motion. And I want you to go all the way side to side and fill it in, okay? We're gonna go all the way, fill it in. Now you can be kind of choppy with your brush strokes, okay? You don't have to like start here and finish all the way here. You can just kind of fill it as you want. Everybody has a different style of painting, okay? But you really want that back and forth of that brush stroke, okay? That's important, that side to side. Okay. Now, it's important here, we're gonna paint wet paint on wet paint, okay? And so we're gonna act kind of quickly here for a moment, and that's just because we don't want this to dry before we do a little bit of blending, okay? So what I'm gonna do first is I still have this chunk of color on my brush, and I might even put a little bit more on my brush. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna grab just a smidge of black. Can you guys see that? I mean, that's it, that tiny little corner of black there, right? I'm gonna bring it over to my turquoise and I'm just gonna kind of mash it in. You can see that. I'm just gonna kind of mash it in there on the corner of my turquoise, just so I get some darker hues real quick before I commit to total black here, okay? Now what I'm gonna do on one side is I'm gonna take my brush and I'm gonna come down to the side like so, and I'm gonna bring it out. Down, and bring it out. Now, this would be a good time to tell you guys that this paintbrush, and some of you already know this, can be used 2 different ways, okay? I can make, I'm gonna show you on the back. I can show you on the side here. I can make a thick mark, and I'll show you really boldly here. I can make a nice thick mark with my brush if I hold it this way and I go down, okay? But I can make a really nice thin mark if I hold it on its side, okay? Do you see the difference in those marks? Okay, that's just from turning my brush. Okay, so practice that when you're painting tonight. You're gonna get a ton of different brush strokes. I'm gonna go ahead and blend those in. Okay, but this is our shadow side over here. So I'm coming down, and you can come across the bottom here just a little bit, okay? And then I'm gonna come over. And notice I can definitely see my brush strokes, okay? I'm gonna run over and I'm gonna pull my blinds just a little bit in the shop. I think there's kind of a glare coming through. So I'm gonna put this up for you guys to look at for just a second. I know there's a weird shadow, so let me get those blinds, but you can at least see the pot down there. You can't see much up there, but I'll be right back. Okay, yeah, I think that helps a lot. Okay, guys, so we're gonna keep on going with this wet paint on wet paint. So because I have black on my brush, I am actually, or gray, I am going to wash my brush, and I'm just gonna kind of swirl it in my water, tap it, take my paper towel, and sandwich it in there and get all the water out of your brush. Super important. Get all the water out of your brush. You especially want to get it off of this metal part right here. Okay, you don't want a water droplet there, because you'll go in to paint and that water droplet will just drip its happy self right down into your painting, and then you have to deal with that, and that's a lot of fun. Okay, so here we go. Now I'm going to do the same thing with white. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit of white and I'm going to bring it over to my turquoise, just a little bit, right? Grab it. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to bring it across a little bit. I'm using the thin side of my brush to bring it across the front here. I'm using the thin side of my brush again to come here. And I'm doing that happy face curve. I'm not straight across. I'm curving here, okay? And I'm just kind of curving every once in a while. Big curves, some little curves. Okay, just showing that I have a shadow. Now, once you have this white part, go back to just your plain turquoise, and you can kind of, this is a game of push and pull, okay? You can kind of push that white back in, blend it. That's why it's important to work wet paint on wet paint, so you can keep blending here. Okay, I'm gonna push just some regular old turquoise in here. And I'm gonna move that white even over into my shadow side just a little bit. And I feel like I went a little bit too far. So that's when I would just grab a little bit of my darker turquoise with that black mixed in, right? And I can just push that right away. Okay, so you can be as choppy and as brush strokey as you want to be here. I know, like I said before, some of you are blenders, you're super blenders, and you're going to want to blend this to be really polished, and go for it. Absolutely. But if you want to try something new and be kind of choppy, just be kind of choppy with your brush strokes. Put them on, let them be there, okay? Just let them be. Okay, so that's my black. I'm gonna wash my brush again. I'm gonna go back with some white, do the same thing on the other side. I go back and forth. I mean, honestly, this is one of those things you could go back and forth on forever. So just do it, you know, twice, maybe 3 times at the most, and then just call it a day. You gotta just kind of let it be what it's gonna wanna be. Because this is one of those things you could just kind of keep going on forever and ever and ever. Okay, you definitely want some of that middle turquoise to show through. Okay, that's really important. So take a step back, take a look at what you're doing. Okay, you are going to want to take a little bit of just the pure white on your brush at one point when you're almost done, and just kind of run it across this top rim right up in here. Okay, so you get like a really nice brighter highlight up there. So easy to just blend that right in. Okay, that's where you got to be kind of light-handed, right? Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and put our shadow in on our table. I'm going to wash my brush, get all the water off, all the white off especially. And I'm going to go right into black here, plain old black. And I'm going to go right across my line where my table is. Okay, and then I'm going to come right down the side of my pot. Okay, and then I'm going to come right across it. Now, if you don't have a happy face down here, this is a good time. You can kind of carve one. Okay, I'm not going to run the black all the way across, just about 3/4 of the way or so. Okay, so I'm kind of like so. I'm going to take it now and I'm going to brush stroke.
April, this is Denise. Can you hold it a little bit closer? I didn't see the black. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Is that better?
Oh, yes. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to kind of brush stroke in that black like so. Now you want to, when you get to this bottom line here, this is your shadow line, okay? Don't go past that line. Your shadow is being cast this direction. So we're just going to throw in some black here this way.
Hey, April, I'm sorry, I'm a little behind. I was still working on the white. So
No
that's
worries.
just straight black.
Straight black. That is just straight black. Yep. I know it feels kind of harsh. We hardly ever use straight black. But now that I have that straight black, I am going to grab just a little bit of my turquoise that's on my main pot, and I'm going to kind of push it in here just a little bit out towards these edges especially. Okay. Okay, you see how kind of messy that is? Y'all let it be messy, okay? Don't think too much about this part down here. If you feel like you're a little bit too blocky over here, I just took a little bit of my table gray and I might kind of just, you know, brush it in that way just to kind of ease out that shadow area, you know, something like that. I'll show you the original too. I always love showing the original and the one we're working on. So you can see I'm the painter of both of these, but every single time paintings come out totally different. So don't feel like you have to copy my painting exactly. Let your painting be whatever it wants to be tonight, okay? The personality of these pots is totally different from each other. So let that be what it is, okay? All right, I'm gonna give you just another minute to kind of finish this part up. We're gonna jump into our plants here. pretty soon. I think you'll be surprised. We're going to break down these different leaves. You're going to be surprised at how quickly these plants go. We're going to use a couple of different brush strokes and some different colors and mix a lot. So, you know, another thing is you can make these planters whatever you want. I'm going to teach, there's 4 different plants here, but if you like one plant better than the other, by all means, you know, fill your planter with more of those or less of something you don't like or whatever it is, okay? You can rearrange this however you want to, okay? All right, everybody doing okay? I'm gonna check across the board. Everybody's looking good, everybody's working hard. If you're not okay, do something. Oh, nice, Amy. Beautiful shading. Awesome. Okay. Let's see here. I'm just checking my my list here. Okay. It's fun that some of you guys are in groups tonight painting together. Okay. All right. Well, very cool. All right, so we're gonna start working on, to me, some of these are kind of made up. Let me scroll back over. They are real. I mean, you know, this looks like a snake plant, right? I don't know what all of these are called. Some of you might know, but we like to make up plants here at the Humble Life, so so work with me on that, okay? We're gonna start with this snake plant though, okay? So let's go ahead, put your number 10 in your water and just let it be. We're gonna pick up our number 6, which is your middle size brush, okay? And we are going to mix a little bit of a darker green here, okay? So you should have a ton of green, I hope you do, okay? So in order to do this is a really interesting green. I love to mix my red brown and my green together. So I'm gonna take a little bit of red brown and then mix it with my green. Okay, I am also going to grab a tiny bit of black. I don't like to mix a lot of black with my paint colors because what black does is it deadens the color. It does make it darker, yes, but it also just completely flattens the color sometimes. And so I try to avoid doing that. And so we mix brown, and this is a red brown, and red and green are complements on the color wheel. And so whenever you mix complements together, you get neutrals. Okay, so like.
I missed everything you said because I accidentally got black on all over my table.
Oh no, okay.
What brush are you using and what colors? I'm so sorry.
That's okay, no worries. That's what I'm here for. I'm now at my number 6 brush. Okay, so it's our middle size brush. Okay, so anything you have roughly close to a 6, all brands are gonna have different size numbers. So let me get some of this paint off so you can kind of see. It's about half the size of a background brush size, I would say. It's like, gosh.
I've been using it this whole time by accident.
That's okay. Then you're already really well acquainted with this brush, so you guys are gonna get along just fine for the rest of the painting. And so we're using that, and we're mixing our green with our red brown and a tiny bit of black together. Right now we're doing our snake plant, and we're trying to get a really nice, rich, dark green. And I was just trying to say, you know, try not to mix too much black with your color. I understand we do need to make a dark color, but always mix another color with it, like our red brown tonight, because it's gonna make for a more interesting color, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, you guys, so I have my color mixed. Now I'm gonna take my brush and I'm just gonna kind of wipe off some of that paint. I don't want gobs of paint on my brush, even though we just mixed a color. I know your brush tends to get kind of gobby, but we need it to draw. And so remember what I said about how you can turn your brush 2 different ways. You can turn it wide ways and get a wide mark, and you can turn it long ways and get a thin mark, okay? We need a thin mark right now, okay? So what we're gonna do I want you to just kind of look at your vessel, and I want you to visualize this snake plant and where it's going to be. And remember that you have 3 other plants that you're going to be fitting in here, okay? So here we go. I'm going to do this drawing part kind of quickly, okay? So stay with me. I'm going to come, it doesn't really matter where you start down in here, okay? Because this is all going to get dark, and you know, we're going to fill it with some dirt or some moss or something pretty soon. So anyway, I'm going to take my brush thin side, and I'm going to make a nice curve. Okay, then I'm going to bring it down. I'm not going to bring it down as curvy, but a little bit curvy, okay? Now I'm going to come up again. Maybe I'm going to start up here, and this one's it's kind of angular in that way, and then it drops down. And then okay, and I'm going to bring this line in even more so it connects. Okay, but I do want a space there. And then I'm going to bring this down and curve it just a little bit. Okay, I have a littler one. I'm going to look at this for a second because it's kind of hard for me to see. I have a littler one here. It's a little bit taller than my first one. Okay. And I have one more spiky one that kind of comes up in the back. So let's see, I'm just gonna kind of spike, he kind of angles. I'm gonna spike him up and down. See, it's something that kind of looks like wonky French fries, right? I'm gonna just go ahead and I'm gonna fill those in with the wide side of my brush. And remember, this paint tends to be a bit transparent, so you will see your background coming through, and that is totally fine. Okay, that is totally fine. We want it to be kind of streaky. It adds texture. Okay. Okay, I'm filling these shapes in now. Don't get too hung up on their actual shapes. Remember, they're plants. Plants are super organic and very forgiving when you paint them, okay? Now, they kind of angle inward. So I'm gonna angle this one inward here on the side and get it really deep into my pot here. And it's gonna, naturally, these are all just gonna kind of meet down here, okay? So I have very streaky color, okay? And that's good. We want very streaky color, okay? All right, now while my paint is still wet, I'm gonna take a little bit of black and I'm gonna bring it over to that dark green we just made, and I'm gonna make an even darker version of that green. And I'm gonna like divide my plants in half, okay? And what I mean is I'm gonna take this dark green and I'm gonna draw a line starting at the top, angling it down. And this side is gonna be my dark side. I'm gonna show you this up close. I hope you can see, I hope the lighting is okay, where you can see that is not a solid color. It is kind of streaky, okay? That's totally fine. You want it, I think you want it to be streaky. I think it's more interesting. You can see your brush strokes. Okay, so you're gonna do that with all 4 of these guys. Okay, and on this one, you're gonna start up at the point up here and you're gonna bring it all the way down. I know my painting angle is kind of funky right now. It's hard to paint holding it up this way and showing you at the same time. So let me just get this color on here and then I will show you better, okay? But my paint class painting never quite comes out as good as the original one, but hey, we try, right? It's always a challenge, painting on the side. Okay. All right, so that's my next one. Okay, I'm mixing a little more color over here. Okay, now this guy. That was easy. I just kind of touched up at the tip there and brought it down. All right, and then this last one up here, same thing. I like to start up at the top and just bring it down. Okay. There you go. There you have it. Now, if your first layer here is dry and you don't like that you can see, oh, Misty, sorry, you're
April.
I
Oh,
see
Misty's
Misty.
trying to, okay.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Sorry. She said she
Misty,
got this.
sorry, I hope you weren't waiting too long. You guys are a good team, Misty and Janine. You guys looking out for each other. Okay, so if your first layer is pretty dry and you don't like that you can see your background, go ahead and give yourself another layer. Do that lighter green and then do the darker green right on top of it. I did not do that in the original painting. I like that you can see some light coming through because just looking at it at a glance, it actually looks like light is hitting the cactus and I think it gives it more dimension. But I do know that some people don't totally love that look of the canvas coming through. So, okay. I'm going to wash my brush. Okay, I think, let's see. Let's do, which one next? Maybe let's do those like weird jadey, teardroppy.
April, can you hang on just a second? I need about a minute.
You got a minute?
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, guys, I'm going to show you the painting so you guys can take a look at it. You can see where we're at and you can see where we're going, okay? Okay, I'm gonna scroll across here and check on you guys. Does anybody have any questions? If you have a question, wave at me or wave your painting around. If you don't, you can smile or thumbs up or, you know, do nothing. Thanks. Thanks for the smiles, guys. Cool. It's cool because I have a lot of people here tonight that have never painted with me before, which I think is super fun, but I also have people here that have been painting with me since I just started doing the Zooms regularly. And then I have people that have been painting since I've been painting here at the shop since day one. So it's fun to have a wide range of people. I am, for the first time, I'm gonna send out a little survey after the class, if I can remember to send it to everybody tonight. You don't have to do it at all. It is very quick though, and I would really appreciate it if you just took a minute to fill it out. It's just questions like, did you have enough paint? Did you learn something? Do you have a suggestion for a paint class in the future? Was this your first time? So it's just very easy questions like that that will give me feedback so that I can make this better for you guys in the future. So if you don't mind, that would be awesome. Just filling that out and sending it back my way. Okay, I think it's time for us to move on. We're doing great on time. We have a whole hour left of class, and we're moving right along here. So I think what we're gonna do next, y'all, is we're gonna do this guy right here. Okay, this is the shape that we're gonna go for next. So I'm still using the same size brush, my size 6. And I'm gonna show you my palette. I love this next color scheme. I think it's really pretty. If you're done with your pot, I think we're gonna use this really pretty turquoise that we have to make our next color. So I'm just gonna dive right into that color already. So we want it to be more on the green side. So I'm just gonna take this turquoise that I have and I'm gonna pull in some more green. Okay. And get it kind of greener here. But then I'm also going to add some of this red brown. See what happens here. We want it a little bit darker. Okay, it's getting there. I'm gonna add a little bit of black. Kind of cools it down a little bit. There we are, it's coming, okay. Sometimes it's hard to remember how I mix some of these colors and it's like trial and error, so I'm glad that one came out. Okay, so you need a color that, your goal is that it's different than this one. Every time we mix a color, your main goal, it doesn't have to be exactly what I'm mixing, but you do need it to be different because we need contrast here. That's what makes this painting successful, okay? So this is a good middle green. It's not too dark, it's not too light. We're gonna take this green after we paint our main shapes and we're gonna add some black to it for our dark shadow sides and we're gonna add some white to it for our lighter sides, okay? So you still should have a pretty big chunk of green left over here. And so make sure that you have a good amount of this paint, okay? Because you want this color to be nice and you want to be able to come back to it when you need it. And like I said, you're going to be mixing black with it and mixing white with it. So you're going to need that. Okay. All right, here we go. Let me study this. Every time you see me looking over here, I have the painting right here so I can look at it and then tell you guys what to do. So let me just look at this for a second and see where exactly I think we should start. Okay, I think I got it. So this plant is like little pods that each have their own shape, okay? So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna just draw them all out and y'all just follow along the best that you can. And then when we start to fill these in and shade them, they're gonna come to life for you, okay? So don't judge your painting too hard yet as you're drawing these, okay? All right, so first and foremost, I know that one of these teardroppy guys goes off the edge of my painting. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna draw one. Now I'm using the thin side of my brush to do this. I'm gonna draw one and it's kind of a rounded teardrop coming out to the side and he comes in like so. I have another one that's smaller that's gonna come inward and he overlaps just a little bit there, kind of like so, okay? So now I have one that's gonna grow from this. This is like my central point here. I have another one that's gonna grow up and he's got a point to him. And then I'm gonna swing it back around. Okay. Coming out from the side here, I have another one. Coming out from in between these two, I have yet another one. It's just a little bit smaller. Not by much, I guess, you know. And now this guy, I'm gonna do another one out to the opposite side. It's gonna look kind of funny because we don't have our middle plant yet. So I'm gonna draw him and let's see, kind of like, I'm not really starting him from back there, but you can if you want. Okay. And I have one more. And he is up here at the top, like so. Once you have those drawn out, you can take your brush and you can switch to the wide side of your brush. And we're just gonna fill these in. And it shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 brush strokes for you to get those guys filled in. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back to each one And you want to remember the shape, that teardrop shape. You want to be painting in a teardrop shape, in the round. Okay, remember contour. That's going to help you see the difference between your different little pods here. Okay, is really having that contour, because now we're getting everything the same color. It's going to start to turn into a big blob of color here, okay? Okay. So I'm filling those guys in. And you can kind of play with the shape as you fill them in. Especially this guy on top, you know, it's really gonna blend in to your other ones, right? So just make sure you're painting so that you can see the difference. But like I said, we're gonna go in with our lights and darks and really bring everything out here. But you can see that, you know, you can see the canvas coming through, and that's kind of helping my shading without trying to shade, right? It's just kind of doing it for me, which is really nice. Okay, I'm just kind of going back over them just a little bit. They're kind of tacky. They're not totally dry, but getting to that tacky state. And I'm going to throw on just one more coat of that color. I'm allowing some light to come through still. Okay, okay. There we are. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this brush in my water. And I'm going to pick up my size 2 brush, okay? So when you're ready, go ahead and switch your brushes over. And check Messenger, make sure everybody's okay over here. Awesome. Okay. Misty, I'm sorry. I told you I checked Messenger all the time and you were telling me you got disconnected and I didn't see you. But I'm glad you're back. Okay. All right, so we've jumped down to our size 2 brush. I'm gonna take a little bit of black and I'm gonna mix it into that color. So I just get a darker version of the color. That's my goal here. It's pretty dark. Okay. Now when you mix with a smaller brush like this size 2, you're gonna end up with gobs on your brush. So you might just wanna wipe that off on the side of your palette a little bit so that you don't go at your painting with huge gobs of paint, okay? All right, so we're just gonna do a little bit of shading here, okay? I'm gonna bring you up close so you can kind of see this better, okay? So I'm gonna start with this bottom one here, and our goal with shading is really to just pull these little guys apart from each other while still making them look connected. Okay, so we want them all to have their own identity while still being a part of the whole, okay? So I'm gonna take my size 2 and my dark paint, and I'm gonna start right up at the top of this one. And I'm just gonna shade this side of my little pod. I did like one long brush stroke going all the way around the outer edge of it. And then just like one, like kind of one towards the middle here, just kind of breaking it up a little bit. Okay, like so. I'm gonna take just I'm gonna jump back to the base color and I'm gonna smear it right on top of there. So I never wiped off the paint, never washed my brush, but remember we like to paint wet paint on wet paint. And what that does is just kind of smooth it out for us, right? All right, now I'm gonna jump back to my dark color and I'm gonna come back to this one right here. I'm gonna start at that point and I'm gonna go right around that outer edge, bring it about halfway over, I'm gonna go one more time in, okay? Then I'm gonna wipe off that black and I'm gonna pick up the base color of our plant and I'm gonna smear that base color right in there. Because you don't want a, you don't want like a totally like a straight line. You want it to be kind of a fuzzy line, right? You want there to be kind of a gradient without two distinct lines. You know, you see what I'm trying to say? So I'm gonna get really close there so you can kind of see that a little bit. Okay.
April, mine's just like not covering. It's just like wiping all the green off, and I just see white.
You can see like your canvas coming through, like it's just scraping.
Yeah, really bad.
Okay, so what you need to do is you just need to wait and let your paint dry completely. Just
Okay.
for some reason, sometimes that happens and it's just scraping. The other thing that I can suggest is if you just can't sit and you just want to keep painting, which is me, I have that urge a lot and I don't want to wait for my paint to dry, then try to paint as light-handed as you can, where you're literally just dragging the brush across and you're not even pressing at all, okay? But you might just need to let it sit for a second. You can like do one of these numbers where you just wave your canvas back like this and you just get it to dry. That's annoying. Okay. So I'm gonna keep going on these guys. You all get the name of the game, okay? You can go faster than me if you want to. We're just gonna take each one of these and we're just gonna separate them from the pack by giving them that nice dark area. This one's kind of more on top here. Okay. And then I'm gonna wipe off that black. I'm gonna get my base color and I'm gonna blend it right in there. Remember, wet paint on wet paint. You kind of want to do this part quickly because, you know, because I'm pushing that color in there, it's really blending really nicely. Okay. I have some areas too, Kaylee, where it's just picking up the paint and smearing it around and not sticking. Okay. All right, I'm gonna grab another bit of darkness and I'm just gonna keep on going around these guys. I'm gonna do this one now. I'm gonna do right up my edge, up to my point, come down and around. Okay. See, there's an area for me right there too. It's just, the paint won't stick right there and it just keeps scraping it and picking it up. So sometimes that happens. Just wait for that area to dry and then you can go back and paint right on top of it. I'm trying to cover it. It won't let me cover. All right, fine. I'll wait. All right, so I'm going to pick up some darkness again. I'm going to go up to this guy right here. Same idea, up to the little tippy top and then around. And I'm really gonna get it actually down in this area. There's gonna be a nice deep shadow in here. Okay. Okay, wipe that off. Grab that base color, blend it in. These are just a game. Push and pull, back and forth. We're gonna go through every one of these again with a little bit of lightness too next, and that's really gonna make them pop and you'll be like, oh, okay, I see it now, I hope. So now I'm at this one over here. Okay, wipe that off, grab a little base color, blend it in. You really wanna let your brush strokes show. Man, that one just won't let me blend it. Okay, now I'm gonna do this top one up here. Need some more dark. All right, and it gets right down into that crevice as well. If any of y'all have a problem area where it's just not letting you put the paint on like I do right in here, just keep on going with us. Just do a different area for a while. Some areas are more forgiving than others, okay? So because I have black on my brush now, I'm gonna go ahead and wash it. Get all the black off, get all the water off, and come in, and I'm gonna do the same thing with some white now. But instead of just straight white, let me show you my palette here. This is my base green. I'm gonna just take a little bit of this green that I'm using, and I'm gonna bring it over here. And I'm gonna just mix a lighter version of the color. We don't need much of it, just enough to be a highlight. A little more. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll get you guys right up in here. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, kind of. I'm actually probably just gonna lay in a little bit of color more than I am gonna actually blend it. So I'm gonna come around this curve here. I'm really just laying in that line there. Coming in on this side. So you see that contrast? So I've got that light color. Now I'm gonna go in with my base color. So I'm working two at the same time now. Blend that in, blend that in. Okay. Kind of like our pot, right? Back and forth, push and pull. Okay, I'm gonna get my light color. I'm gonna come around the bottom here. A little bit in there, wipe that off, grab my base color. Okay, blend that in. Get my light color, come around the side here. Wipe that off, grab my base color, and come back in, blend it in. Just back and forth to each one. The last thing that we have to do on these guys is we're gonna add a little bit of a white, a pure white highlight, but that won't be until after this dries. So if these aren't looking totally finished to you, that's why. Remember, try not to get too hung up on your shading here. This is just, you know, leave your brush strokes showing, let it be choppy. Okay, I went a little bit too far, and I went over a lot of my shadow in here, so I'm gonna put that back in there real quick. There we go. Wipe that off. Go to my light color up here. Okay. Bring it in. Grab my base color, blend that in there. Okay, last one. Grab my light color. Okay, grab my base color and blend it right in. All right, so I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of time. Work on those. Remember, it's a game. Push and pull, back and forth. Okay. You just want contrast. Remember your pot, dark to light. Same thing, dark to light, okay? You just want to range just so that those individual pods are just set apart and they look different from each other, okay? They're not totally where we want them to be yet. We are going to add just a little bit of white in a minute, but I'm going to give you guys a second to kind of catch up here, okay? Okay. This is where we're at, and this is where we're going. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna check on you guys again, make sure everybody's okay. Make sure too that your paintbrushes are in the water if you're not using them, except for, I guess we've used all of them so far. So yeah, just make sure they're all sitting in the water if you're waiting on me. Okay, everybody looks good. Brandy, Holly, how are you guys doing tonight? You're good? Good, good to see you guys again. Marcy, Emma, and Tasha, where are you guys? I guess you can't. Yeah, you have to unmute me and tell me.
We're in the she shed.
Awesome. It's a fun little hangout. Cool. Very cool, you guys. All right, y'all. Well, it looks like everybody's doing okay. No one's freaking out. That's good. Okay, let's move on to the next one. We're gonna do this guy right in here. This happy little, bubbly little guy. All right, so wash your brush completely. Let's see, let's go ahead. Let's just stay with our 2. I like that brush. Now, if at any time you want to use a different brush, go for it. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever brush you feel most comfortable with. But I think we're going to use this one. We can have more control with this size brush, and I think you'll like it. Okay, so we're going to mix a light green, a light lime green. All right, so we're going to grab your yellow and your green should be right next to each other, which is pretty convenient. We're going to just pull out some of this green, get it reactivated. It might be getting kind of gobby on you here. Okay, get that kind of moving around. Pull in your yellow. Just get it in there. Okay, start mixing it up. Okay, see what happens here. You're going to want to grab some white.
What size brush is it, April?
We're using our 2,
Okay.
the smallest one. Yep, but use whatever brush you're more comfortable with. I don't always recommend mixing with a small brush, like I said before, but for convenience sake, it's fine. Make sure that you mix white with this color. That's very important. Okay. The white, obviously, it makes it lighter, but it also makes it more opaque. And that's going to be very important when we're painting this next part here, because we're going to be painting a light color on top of darker areas, because our snake plant and our jade are both very, they're very dark. And here, now you can see my palette there. So I have this really pretty limey green color. So that's green, yellow, and white. And notice I'm rolling my brush. I'm just doing this with my fingers on my palette, and that's just getting some of the gobs off. That's important. Okay. And then go back in and get some like so. Okay. All right, so follow me for this next part. It's gonna be a lot of what we just did with those jade plants, except there's just a lot of these little guys, okay? I know you can do this part though. Okay, I'm gonna get you angled right. Okay, so let's see, I'm just gonna look at this for a second. It's gonna feel kind of funny because you're gonna be painting on top of what you've already, oh, gotta let Diane in, hang on. You're gonna be painting on top of areas that you've already painted on, and that sometimes can feel kind of funny, okay? So, Diane, I don't know if you were here for this part, but we just mixed like a lime green real quick. It's green, yellow, and white mixed together, and we're using our size 2 brush, okay? All right. So I'm gonna go through, we're just gonna make all of our shapes first, and then we'll go back and we can kind of flesh them out, okay? All right, so let me look at this for a second and see where we're gonna kind of start. I'm pretty sure I kind of just started kind of centrally, and your plant is just gonna kind of grow however it wants to be. So I'm gonna start right in the center here, and I'm gonna make like a grape shape. It's an oval, okay? Like so. Now you're gonna notice you can see my snake plant coming through. That's totally fine. We're not gonna worry about that right now. Okay, so I've got my grape. Now out to the side of my grape, I'm gonna do another one kind of leaning this way. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna grab a little more white and I'm gonna mix it into this color. I want this to be more opaque, and it's not, it's still very transparent. So I'll show you the difference here. So I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna paint right on top of it. Okay, there, that's better. Okay, so I've got two grapes. Right in front of the first one that I painted, I'm gonna paint an oval that's going this way, the opposite direction. It's a little bit smaller. Okay. Now from this little intersection here, I'm gonna paint a longer oval, a longer, thinner oval, coming out that way. And then I'm gonna jump over to this side over here. And it's not coming out of this point right here. It's actually coming more out down here. I'm gonna paint another one down here. Okay. I'm gonna skip this area for a moment. Okay. Now I'm gonna come out of this little intersection right here, this little point where it meets, and I'm gonna come out to the side. I'm gonna make this one a little bit bigger. I want these to touch these two right here. Okay. Okay, still going strong. We're gonna come out of this area right here. We're gonna jump up. This one's nice and big. Okay, you can see my jade plant coming through. That's totally fine. That's probably happening to you also. Okay. I'm gonna go right over that a little bit. All right, there's one in between these two as well. It's just small, like right there. Okay, there's a fly flying around here. It's driving me crazy. There's another one coming out right here, but you know what? Let's do, this is gonna feel kind of funny, but we're gonna do one that's right up on top of here. It's coming right out of that top one. Okay. And you know, just to make it a little bit different, you can even kind of angle it a little bit that way. Just to show that he's a different little guy. Now there's another one that fits right in between these two. Now your plant is gonna start looking kind of blobby. That's why it's important to be painting in the round here, okay? We want to show the contours. So your little grapes are gonna be kind of layered on each other now. Okay, now we have one more that fits right in here. Now, if you have a weird space on either side of yours, like I kind of have one right here, I'm just gonna go ahead and make this guy just bigger. And that's totally fine. Okay, so now you should have this little crazy guy. You can make any of these areas bigger if you want to, or a different shape, however you want to do it. Nope, Diane. There, I got you back in. Okay. Now there's a section down here at the bottom that's just it's kind of whatever. It's kind of background. It's the bottom of the plant. Okay, it's not a very developed area of the painting, but we still need to put it in because it adds to the whole here. Okay, so I'm just gonna make like it's almost like a tongue shape that's coming out of the bottom here. It's like a half a grape, like so. Okay. And then out to the side here, it's like an upside down heart where one side of the heart is pointed and one side of the part is round. So I'll show you what I mean down in here. If you can see my brush, I'm gonna come out and then I'm gonna come around. Okay. Can you see all those shapes okay? They're kind of ghostly right now because we haven't done our second layer yet and we're working light paint on top of dark paint. Okay. Once you have all of these shapes, we're just gonna go back on every single one and lay on another layer. And when I lay on my second layer, I don't repaint the entire thing. What I do is I just take my brush and I just kind of lay in that paint, move on. Lay in that paint, move on. So it should take you half the time, maybe even a quarter of the time that it took you to paint the original shape, just to kind of go back over and give it a nice quick layer. Okay, you still might see your other plants coming through. You most likely will, and that's okay. Okay. That is okay. We're gonna do a little bit of shading here in a minute, and that will clean everything up. All right, now if you have some areas in here of white background like I do, you can kind of see that. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take your brush, and I haven't added any paint to my brush. I'm just gonna use what's already on my brush, and it shouldn't be too much. I'm just gonna kind of wiggle my brush in between these areas, and it's just gonna kind of fill in those spaces a little bit, okay? You just wanna kind of make it, just kind of fill it in a little bit, okay? Kind of see what I mean there? So it's not as dark as your actual little pods, but it's just kind of filling in that space better, okay? The other thing that you can kind of do to make some of them look a little bit more anchored, and part of it is just change their shape a little bit, make them a little bit bigger, make them so that they're touching each other. But when we do the shading, the dark shading here, it kind of does pull everything together. The more you paint on these, the bigger they kind of get, okay? So that's what we're left with right now. All right, so you definitely want to do that second coat. If your paint is still wet, your first layer is still wet, that's okay. Just do one of these numbers. You just want it to be tacky, okay? Just get it a little bit tacky so that you can go over it with a second coat, okay? Be very light-handed with that second coat as well. Just really, okay? Okay. So here's the next part, and this is gonna be a lot easier than the jade. This shading is only just putting down brush strokes very quickly and very suggestively, okay? You really see the brush stroke on this. It is not blending, and it's just laying color on top of color, okay? So what we're gonna do here real quick, I'm gonna show you my palette. We're gonna mix up a nice, rich green, and you know what? This green right here, if you have any of this green left over, this was the same green that we used in our snake plant. It will be perfect. And so that was your true blue. That was your true green. So 2 parts green, 1 part blue. That was a little bit of your red brown and a little bit of maybe just a little bit of black, but I'm not appearing to need any black right now. Okay, so you might not either. Now, what you want is contrast to this color right here, which clearly we have. These two colors are very, very different from each other, okay? So that's what you want. Okay. All right, so this part goes quick, okay? So follow me here. I wiped off the gobs off of my paintbrush because I used it to mix a color. So I just wiped it off on my paper towel. And I'm gonna go into this dark color. Let me bring you guys up a little bit closer here so you can really see. All right, so I'm just gonna start, I'm gonna start up with this middle one, the very first one that we drew, okay? I'm just gonna put this color on and I'm going to just do a couple of little brush strokes down towards the bottom of it. You see that? Very simple, didn't think too much about it. I'm gonna take my paintbrush and I'm gonna go across this bottom grapey one that we have, like so. I'm gonna take my brush and I'm just gonna go across the side of this one right here. Okay, I'm gonna go up one and I'm gonna brush in just a little bit in the middle and maybe a little bit down the side here. Okay, I'm gonna go up to this little baby back here, give it a little bit right in there. Moving right along, I'm gonna come right up into this big one, pull in a little bit like so. So what I'm doing, I'm just going across all of these and I'm just putting it at the base, right? A little bit at the base here, this little one right there. I'm gonna come up to the one on top here. I haven't even gone back to get more paint yet. That's crazy. Okay, I'm gonna come onto the side here. See how this is really pulling them out? They're becoming their own thing here. That's what we want. All right, now this guy, he's a little bit bigger. I'm gonna put in some down here at the bottom and round it out here, getting more shadowy. This one out to the side, he's got a little bit rounded out towards the bottom. Now this like heart shape, I'm just gonna smear some in here. I'm not really thinking too hard about that. And this like little tongue almost shape down here, this half pod, just a little bit in there. Now you can still see that you can see lightness around this, okay? That's good, okay? Y'all see that? I'll give you guys a second to finish that part up. I'm wiping off my brush on my paper towel. I'm not washing it in the water. I'm gonna go into some white. Now, because I haven't cleaned my brush in the water, I still have a little bit of green on my brush, which is great, because I don't want a pure white. I want a slightly dirty white, just slightly, okay? So I'm gonna go around to each of these and watch how quickly I do this. I'm just gonna put the brush down and pick it up really quick. I'll start in the middle. I'm gonna put the brush down like so. Put the brush down like so. See, I just hit that one right there on the bottom like that. I'm gonna go across the top right here. I'm gonna go across the top right here. Right in here. This one has a little bit right there, okay? This one a little bit across the top all the way around. But you see how I'm just giving it a little bit of white, or dirty white, right across the top of some of these, or all of them, you know, just hitting that highlight. Just giving it a little bit of a sparkle, okay? See how just that touch of white just made that whole plant pop, okay? That's some easy shading that really just does a lot for you. Okay, so take a step back and look at your plant. Now my areas here, they look a little bit bright to me, the areas that we just smeared our brush in. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna take my base green that we used for this and I'm gonna fill them in just a little bit. Make them a little bit darker. They just feel a little bit too yellow to me. It's making them have too many, too much space. I don't want them to have so much space apart from each other. And isn't it amazing that just that little bit of shading made that plant pop up to the foreground so much you don't even see the darkness of your other plants in the background anymore. Okay. All right, so while we're down here, I'm gonna wash my brush off because I have white on it. While we're down here, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take a little bit of black and mix it into my darkest green, okay? I want a very, very, very dark green. I don't want black, but I want almost black. And I'm gonna fill in this bottom area here, okay? So how I do this is I'm gonna start at this point of my pot and I'm just gonna bring it up just a little bit. Okay, like so. You might not even have that area there, and if you don't even worry about it. So I'm just gonna fill in this area. I'm gonna be kind of sketchy about it. You see how I'm kind of scribbling almost? Okay. I'm gonna be very careful when I come around my plants. Okay, you see how I'm doing that? It's very scribbly. You can see the brush strokes. I'm gonna come into this little area right here. Everybody's is gonna be a little bit different. Everybody's gonna have more or less, or, it's all gonna be different for everybody, how much of this you have. I'll show you an example. In this painting, I have, what you've been watching this much, but in this painting, I have so much more. Okay? So make it your own. Fill it in the way you need to. This is where we're at, and this is where we're going. You guys are doing great. We're on the home stretch. I'll give everybody a moment. We have one more plant to do, and then we're just gonna hit up some highlights, and that's it, and we're done. So while everybody's catching up, I'm just gonna remind some of you about our Ultimate Painters Kit. I know some of you already have it, but some of you have been painting with me regularly, and I just want to remind you, if you think you're going to keep painting with me like this, I plan on doing Zoom through the summer. The Ultimate Paint Kit comes with a whole set of brushes. It's 11 brushes, and it's every brush that I use in class. So it's your very own brand new set. You never have to return brushes again. And it's also 1 pint of all 9 colors that we use in class. So it's all your primaries, and it's the neutrals, and it's some of the secondaries as well. So you have your own paint, and it's plenty of paint. You will use it far beyond classes with me. So it gives you some freedom to paint on your own without me, or find somebody else online on YouTube, maybe that is teaching something different that you might want to paint with. It comes with 3 canvases, and that also includes 3 classes with me. Any classes you want. It doesn't have to be the next 3. It can be any 3 classes you want. And then when you run out of canvases, you can continue to purchase canvases from me as long as I have them in stock. And it also comes with a white paint pen. And I do teach a lot of classes where you will need a white paint pen, but I don't give those out in the kits that you just come pick up from me weekly. So it is really good to have your own paint pen, because we do a lot of paintings that have wording, and it's nice to be able to do that with a paint pen. Okay, that whole kit is $100 even, and like I said, that includes 3 classes with me, and it can be any 3 classes. So you'll never have to return your brushes again. You'll never have to pick up a kit again. You can just hang out at home and wait for classes that you want to participate in. Okay, so if anybody is interested in that, just send me a message after class and let me know, and I'll put one together for you. Okay, it is really weird. I had to go to a lot of different places this week to find canvases. There's a shortage of 9x12s. I don't know why. all the craft stores in this county and online and everywhere. It's really, really crazy. Hobby Lobby couldn't even tell me why 9x12s are in such a need right now, but apparently a lot of people are doing paintings. So, hey, that's pretty great. Okay. I think everybody looks pretty good. I'm scrolling across here and nobody is freaking out. Everybody looks cool, calm, and collected. So I think we're gonna keep on moving on. So we have one more plant to do, you guys. This is awesome. So at this point, everybody's planter is gonna look a little bit different. Okay, I'm gonna scroll back over to me so I can see. Okay, everybody's is going to look a little bit different. The composition is going to be a little different. So this last plant really lends itself well to just filling space. Okay, so you can fill this plant out however you want. So I'm going to show you again the difference between my two paintings. You can see where we're at, where we're going. You can see how I have a lot more space over here for this plant versus in this painting. So in this painting, it's going to be smaller. And so I want you to look at your painting and decide, you know, what you think is going to happen, if your plant's going to need to be bigger, if it's going to be smaller, if it's going to be just wonky, however it's going to work. Okay, I just want you to fill it in to make it your own and make it work for you. So we're going to be using our smallest brush. So get it nice and clean, get all the water off of it. Okay, you might even, when you're done washing it, just take your fingers and pull it like this, press it together so you have a nice thin brush. Okay, you have a nice sort of flat brush, I guess is the right word. Yes, Marcy's group.
Is that the 2 or the 6?
That's the 2.
Okay.
That's the 2. Yeah, sorry, Emma. Yeah, we're using our 2. Okay. All right. Okay, so here we go. So we're gonna use our red brown, just the red brown as it is. You don't have to mix it with anything. Just kind of move it around on your palette a little bit, reactivate it. Okay, wipe off any gobs, because like I said, you do really need a nice thin line for this part because we're gonna be drawing the branch or the stem of this, okay? So remember how I said you can turn your brush to the thick side or the thin side. Right now we're gonna be using the thin side, okay? Let me scoot you on up. All right, so I'm gonna be drawing these lines to work for my painting. I want you to draw them how they're gonna work for yours. So maybe just watch how I do this first and then see, you know, how it's gonna kind of work for you. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of take a look at it. Now I know that I'm gonna have some overlap here, probably more than I did in my original painting. I'm definitely gonna be overlapping on top of this guy right here for sure. Okay, so that may not be the case for you. I don't know what's gonna happen, okay? So here we go. So I'm gonna just start right down somewhere behind my lime green guy, and I'm gonna come up and I'm just gonna draw a line. Just a line, a random line, no rhyme or reason, going to wherever. I'm gonna draw another one kind of back here a little bit too, okay? Now this line, I'm gonna kind of bring it up and over. I might draw another branch out that way. I'm gonna draw another branch out this way. I'm just drawing a couple of branches. I'm just kind of filling in this space. And like I said, this is gonna be kind of different for everybody, okay? This guy is gonna have a branch that comes up this way, maybe come up that way, I don't know.
You're just using red brown?
I'm just using red brown. Now, if you don't like the redness of this red brown, you can take a little bit of your green and you can tone it down a little bit. I would take maybe one of your darkest greens and just mix it in with that red brown, and it'll take away some of the redness, because I know it looks very, very red right now. But I will tell you too, we're going to be covering a lot of this stem with those green leaves, and that kind of gets hidden. So whatever you want to do. Anyway, I have this kind of a stem kind of thing coming up here. I'm going to draw one more just kind of coming up right here. You don't have to, whatever, however you want to do it. Okay, and you can always add more in a little while. I might do one more coming up that way too. Okay, so I have something like that. Something like that. Okay, it does not have to be that exact thing. Okay. I'm not gonna wash my brush. I'm gonna leave my brush with that red brown on it. I'm gonna come over to my palette. Let me show you my palette real quick. I hope your palette is a mess like mine. I love messy palettes. Okay, so I have that red brown. I'm gonna go in, let's see, I'm gonna start with probably my lightest color first. And I'm probably just gonna choose this lime green here that we used for our base color of that last plant we did. Now with this plant, you guys, use whatever greens you like. If you like the darker greens better, go for the darker greens. Or if you wanna mix totally new greens, mix new greens, whatever you want. We're just using up all of our greens at this point. But I'm gonna start with this one, okay? I really like this color, so I'm gonna use it first, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back over to my painting here, and I'm gonna use the shape of my brush to basically just to make like a print, okay? I'm gonna start, maybe I'll just start right up here, or I'll start at this first stem. I'm gonna take my brush and I'm just gonna flatten it to my canvas and pull away. And you see how I have like a nice little dot there? Maybe you can't really see yet. I'm gonna travel up and down my branch. If you're a very neat person, you might be one that goes back and forth, side to side, like so. Okay. If you're more like me, you're kind of all over the place and you're like, oh, one looks good there. I'll put one there. I'll put one there. Why not? Put one there. Okay, I'm just very random, kind of going around. You do want to be consistent in that you're either going to be going in front of this plant or behind this plant. Okay, so I decided to go in front of it. So I'm painting on top of these leaves and this one as well, okay? You can paint it so that these little leaves are going behind the plant, but just be consistent in whichever way you go. Okay, so I'm just going to be adding this little paintbrush print leaf everywhere. Now there's more of this color than there are of any other color that we're going to use. So go ahead and just give it a nice healthy amount of these. Fill it up. Fill it up. You will see some of the branch, you want some of the branch to show through, but not a lot. Okay, I'm just kind of putting these everywhere. Now this is one of those, you can go back and you can add more of this color if you want to. Okay, now I'm gonna add white to this color. Okay, maybe you already have that mixed on your palette, maybe you don't. I'm even, you know what, I'm even just because I wanna make something a little bit different, I'm gonna add a little bit of turquoise to this color. And I'm gonna make a totally new green that I've never used before, just because I wanna make something a little bit more interesting, and you can do that too. Now I'm gonna take this color. Your goal every time you go back to your palette to make a new leaf is just to basically make a new color, okay? Or grab a different color than your last one. Now I'm just gonna go back and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna add more leaves. I'm just gonna start filling this out. And your leaves can overlap each other, absolutely, okay? They don't have to, but don't feel like you have to lay them right next to each other. You can have them go on top of each other. You wanna get really crowded, but you still want to be able to see your stem here and there, okay? So I'm just gonna keep on filling these out. Okay. And this can, I mean, you could do this forever, honestly. It's kind of fun, yeah. All right, so I've got all those in there. Now I'm gonna add a really nice, really deep blue green. So I'm gonna grab a little blue and I'm gonna grab a little green over here. I don't have a color like this in my greens yet. So it's a new green for me. Feel free to make a new green for you. I would suggest, even though we want it to be dark, just to add it, just a touch of white. It's just important for making your paint opaque. Okay, let me get this color mixed up. Okay, so this is gonna be my contrast here. So you wanna be kind of strategic about where you put these. You know, this is where balance really comes into play. You really want to, if you're gonna put one here, you wanna put one up here. If you're gonna put them there, you just kind of want your eye to travel around nicely. Okay, there we go. Moving right along. I recommend when you get to this darker color to be kind of quick with it. Okay, don't think too much. Now I'm looking at mine and I want you to kind of take a look at yours. I'm seeing an area right in here. It's kind of bugging me. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna wipe off this. I'm gonna add a stem there. So look at yours. See if there's an area where you feel like you just need, you know, I just added like a branch kind of going up that way. And I think that might actually do it. I don't think I need to do much more there. So then just go back to your leaves and add your color in. Okay. You can go around with this forever, just kind of filling it in. You can even add some leaves where there isn't a stem. Like for example, I have an area right down in here, kind of what I was just telling you guys about. It just needs something. So I'm just gonna put in a couple of leaves there, and that's totally fine. I did that on the original painting too, because no one's really gonna sit there and study and break down your painting and be like, those leaves definitely don't have a stem. I don't know why you did that, okay? So don't worry too much about that. You just want to fill it out, okay? You just want that area to be nice and filled out. Now, like I said too, if you feel like that red-brown stem is just too red, go ahead and take a green, probably a darker green or so, and you can just go right on over it just a little bit and just darken it out here and there. Not too much because you already have your leaves in, but you can just add in a little bit of that dark green here and there, and it'll just kind of dull it a little bit for you. Just kind of push it back into the background. Okay. There you go. Okay. Cool. All right, how is everybody doing there, okay? I know that this style of painting is hard for my thinkers who want to blend. We're just laying down color, just laying down shapes, laying down color. All right, you guys. Well, we have one more step in our painting. I'm going to teach it to you guys, but remember, you guys can paint as long as you want tonight. You are in the comfort of your own home or you're at a friend's house, and I've given you all the instruction that you need. So you can keep working on this painting as much as you want. If you want to revisit your pot and work on that shading a little bit more, or if you just feel like your jade plants need more contrast or whatever it is, just keep on working on it. I will tell you, and I tell everybody this in my classes too, you've probably heard me say this before, but it is really hard to see what you're painting when you're sitting right up on top of your painting. And I know that sounds kind of funny, but when you're sitting here and you're staring at it, you're so close to it, you can't see it for what it is. You have to take it and give it to a friend across the room, or post it up somewhere, or just get some space from it. You need perspective. When you get farther away from it, it just looks better. I promise you that, okay? The other thing is, if you're just kind of getting sick of it, take a break and pick it up tomorrow or whenever you have time again. But I guarantee you, tomorrow when you wake up and you look at your painting, you're gonna be like, wow, that's awesome. That's way more awesome than it looked last night. Because I know sometimes people can get frustrated and it does get kind of hard to see how good you are doing. But I promise you guys, you're all doing great. I can't wait for you to send me the photos of your final paintings as well. And I am very happy to give you feedback tonight, tomorrow, whenever. It doesn't matter. If there's an area of your painting that you're just struggling with and you can't figure it out, send me a picture of it and I'm happy to tell you. Maybe you've missed a color, or maybe you just need help with a particular brush stroke, or whatever it is. Just send it my way and I can kind of look at it and tell you kind of what I think is going on there. But no matter what, send me your painting. I want to see the final product. I want to see how it came out. Those of you who have painted with me in the shop before, we do a group photo at the end. Unless Stephanie is in my class, then we don't do a group photo. We just inevitably miss that. She's so lucky. But Just for the.
You do the photo, you just don't ever post.
I don't post
the
it. That's true. That's true. That's true. But I want to see what you did. So send me your photo. And if you're with a group tonight, I would love to see your group together, smiling with all your paintings. Send that my way. I miss you guys so much. I miss being in person. I really do. I miss hanging out and talking and working through things like this together. So please. Oh, awesome, Denise and Carol. They're beautiful, you guys. They are beautiful. You guys are doing a great job. Be very proud of yourselves. Very, very nice. All right, guys. Oh, awesome. Look at you guys, Marcy. Yay. Gloria, it's beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, you guys, wonderful. That shading is fantastic. Fantastic.
Right. Can you see it?
Stephanie, let's see yours.
Stephanie,
Yay! I love that. Good job.
Thanks, Mom. Amy, look at you go. That's awesome. I hope you hang that in your home. It's totally your colors. Cool. Very cool. Oh, I love how that's hanging down. What a good idea. Way to
more
make this
mother of
composition
pearl
work.
vibes.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Awesome. That's beautiful. I love hanging plants. That is beautiful. Good job, you guys, making this your own. Very cool. Oh, Blair, is that Taryn's group? Yep. Nice, you guys. I always love it. I always love your group photos. Every time I laugh, every time. They're so funny. You guys are so funny. Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to show the last step, okay? I'm going to show the last step. And then, like I said, y'all, you take your time. You paint as much as you want or as little as you want and really make it what you want it to be. Okay. I'm going to wash my brush really well because all we're going to do now is use white. I'm going to use my size 2 brush. Okay. That's my smallest brush. And I'm going to use my fingers to make it nice and thin, and I'm going to go into my white. I just have a very little bit of white on my brush, okay? And I'm going to go back to my snake plant, that first plant that we painted. And every once in a while, I'm just going to give it a little dash here and there, okay? Just like so, very quick. I didn't think about it. I recommend not doing it in a pattern. If you do this in a pattern and you mess up your pattern, your eye is always going to go back to that one spot where you messed up. It's going to drive you crazy. So really quickly, I'm just going with my white. Okay. There we go. There we have it. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same white, but I'm going to have a very, very, very light hand, and I'm just going to brush in just a slight highlight on each of my jade plants over here. See how I'm just kind of brushing that in? I hardly have any paint on my brush, and that's the trick, is you're really doing something called dry brushing. Okay, I have the tiniest amount of paint on my brush, and I am just lightly laying it on the highlight side of my jade plant. So it's not super bright. It's just right there. It just gives it that nice pop. Okay. And that is it. That is it. You did it. You did the whole thing. And it's 9:07 right now. Look at us. It hardly took us 2 hours to do that. Okay. So once again, I'm going to show you the difference between the painting. So you can see every painting just comes out totally different. The shading is the same, you know, it's the same painting, just a different night, a different mood. You know, this one, it is kind of hard to paint up to the side. So there's that. Okay. All right, so once again, I will reiterate, please send me send me your photo. Send me how it came out. I want to know your struggles. I want to know if it worked out for you and all of those things. I want to see group photos, all of that kind of stuff. This was a huge group tonight. Over 40 of you, 46 of you to be exact. So I cannot tell you how thankful I am to have each and every one of you, and that you guys took the time to be here tonight with me and to support our small business. That's just awesome. You guys are just great. Let me know if you're interested in an Ultimate Painter's Kit. I'm more than happy to ship those, or you can come and pick it up at the shop. Let me know at all if there's anything that I can help you with at all. I know a lot of you guys probably already know this, but just public service announcement, we are opening up a smoothie shop here in the shop, or I guess not as, we're opening up the smoothie side of our shop. So it's all natural, super healthy, super tasty smoothies. So our goal is to have that open by the 13th, which is 10 days from now, which is totally nuts. So you've probably been watching our patio. It's coming to life. It's coming. We just got our tables and chairs, and they're really pretty, and our sunflowers are blooming. And so we're just really trying to create a beautiful space for you to come and hang out and drink something good that's going to make your body feel good. And my goal too eventually would be, to have little watercolor kits that you can come and check out and sit on the patio and play with watercolors and just paint the flowers and just kind of enjoy it. We're getting new ceiling fans, so you won't have to deal with the heat so much. So there's lots of changes here, guys. So I can't wait to see all of you. Probably on Saturday, when we open, it'll be second Saturday in downtown. You know how we try to do some specials. We'll probably have free samples or some kind of deal or some kind of giveaway or some kind of something. We just haven't figured out yet because you know how we are, very last minute, right? All right, well, I guess just stay tuned. If you have any suggestions for me on teaching, please tell me. I love constructive criticism. I want to know what I could do to be better for you. If you have anything to say about the class or anything at all, or if you have a suggestion for a painting, I want to know what that is, especially anything new, you guys. I mean, I try to paint, a good range of things, but I want new ideas. I am going to send out a survey. If you don't mind, I would love it if you just took the time to fill that out. It shouldn't take you more than a minute to do. Most of it's multiple choice. I think the hardest question might be like, do you have an idea for a paint class? So it'll only take you a minute, and I'm pretty positive it's anonymous. So you're not going to hurt my feelings. It'll just come to me in a grid form. So don't worry about anything like that. And I guess just send me your photos, and I can't wait to see everything and how it came out. Katie, look at you. Your happy succulents. They're beautiful. I'm happy to see you again. Fantastic. Fantastic. Holly from Florida, look at you go. That's awesome. Super awesome. Oh, Marcy, Emma, Tasha, you guys. Look at that. So cool, you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Holly. Bye, Brandy. Shannon, that looks beautiful. Great job, Shannon. Bye, Brandy. Misty, look at you go. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, I love it, you guys. Sandra, I love your pot. Very beautiful. Nice. Very nice. Okay. Oh, Kaylee, hang on. I just scrolled past you. Let me see. Kaylee, it turned out great. Your pot is beautiful. Good color mixing. Very nice. Very, very nice. Marcy, is that, I can't see who in your group is holding up your painting, but whoever it is, it's awesome. It's awesome. Very, very nice. Very cool. Mm-hmm. Bye, Janine. Thank you for coming. Hey guys, too, just a reminder, wash your brushes and bring them back to me. Unless you have an Ultimate Painter's Kit, then you never have to bring me your brushes again. Good for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you. She's potty trained now.
Woo!
Bye-bye.
Bye, Sandra.
Well, thank you for everything.
You are so welcome. I hope to see you guys again.
Okay, we will. Thank you.
Bye, Denise.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Carol.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Bye, Holly. Thank you guys for sending me all the names in your group too. I really try hard to remember everybody's names, and I have this like crazy list of notes down here with everybody's names, so I can remember you. All right, guys. So if you're gonna keep paying tonight, awesome. Good for you. Send me your photos tonight, tomorrow, whenever you want. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna start checking Messenger and start replying to everybody. But thank you. Bye, Diane. Thank you guys so much again. I hope y'all have a great night, and I hope to see your faces next week. Bye, Amy. Thank you for coming and meeting your friends.
Thank
I can't
you.
wait to see. Hey, look at your cute wreath back there. Oh my gosh. Did you write that? Hello, spring. Is that you?
Yeah.
That's so good. So good. Oh, it turned out so pretty. Brian will be proud. So will Ellie. You should make
He
him come
will.
to a paint class.
I know. My nephew wanted to do it tonight.
Oh man.
Next time, I'll get him
Yeah.
the kit. He can do
Yeah.
it. He
I'll
can do
just
the
send you
flamingo
an
with us.
extra kit. Just next time you just do it. That way you just have it just in case.
Yeah, he can just totally do the flamingo with us. So
Okay. Let me know when
That'd be
you want to
perfect.
do that. I'm probably going to post that up for a class here soon.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. It's just a good painting. I just want to do it.
I love it. I can't wait.
We do a lot of animals with flower crowns around here. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one.
all right, you guys, I will see y'all later. Have a good night.
Bye.
Send me your photos.
Thank you.
Bye. Diane, it looks great.